Market weakness continued today with the S&P 500 down 0.28%. We staged a little bit of a bounce here in the middle of the day right off of this 5,700 level. You can see there's a significant gamma exposure at that level. Ultimately, though, that rally attempt kind of faded at the end, and so we are hovering just between this lower dealer cluster zone and the zero gamma exposure line, which is our blue line here on our chart. But despite the weakness, one of the things that is interesting is the amount of volume at the 5750 strike. This was the largest volume today, 127,000 contracts on the S&P 500 traded at that 5750 strike, even though price has not traded at that level since midday on Friday. And so what is this telling us? Is this market participants coming in at this level expecting a big up move tomorrow and Wednesday heading into the election? I think that's the case. Another thing we'll talk about is this large gamma exposure concentration at the 6,000 strike as well. But first, let's just take a look at the economic calendar. Tomorrow, of course, is the presidential election. We also have ISM Services PMI in the morning. The FOMC schedule this week is slightly offsides because of the election, with the interest rate decision coming out on Thursday this week. And then we also have sentiment on Friday. So not many major economic events happening this week, but the ones that are happening, including the election, are going to be big movers.
Yeah, thanks, Anthony. I was looking at the VIX and pointing out to our Discord members that the VIX looks really kind of bullish for volatility right now. But the thing about these events coming up is you don't know if this means the VIX is going to have a sharp spike that reverses overnight. So it could be interesting to see what happens here in the next 24 hours with the VIX. And we have continued to see volume on the VIX at these lower levels. It would not surprise me, though, with what you just shared on SPX and SPY to see the VIX get crushed once there's some sort of certainty over the next day or several days, and then the market continues the trend we've seen all year.
Yeah, thanks, John. That's going to be really interesting to see how this week plays out for sure. Turning back to the S&P 500, I mentioned this gamma exposure concentration at the 6,000 strike. Well, there's actually positive gamma exposure between 5,900 and 6,100. And we're even seeing gamma exposure coming in at even higher strikes. And so I think, a lot of investors, and you can see this especially with the S&P 500, more so than SPY or the Qs, that investors are coming in and preparing for an upside move. That doesn't mean for sure that it's going to happen, but I think this is the mindset of investors, is that following this Fed meeting, following the election this week, we kind of have clear sailing into the end of the year for the next 6 to 8 weeks. Really not a lot of major events coming up before us. I think from an institutional investor mindset, they're seeing clear sailing into this level into year end. So we'll see if that's going to materialize, but we're definitely seeing money being put to work at these levels here on the S&P 500 in the options market. We mentioned the FOMC meeting this Thursday. The interest rate decision will be announced. Obviously, you can see 98% probability for a 25 basis point rate cut here. This is according to the CME Fed Watch tool. And if we just look at their probabilities calendar, we can see the path for interest rate cuts going into 2025, basically by end of summer 2025. The expectation is that the interest rates will be cut at least 100 basis points down to 350 to 375 basis points. So something to definitely watch. This path here highlighted by the blue is the interest rate probability path. And so basically market expectations are for it to taper off here around 350 basis points by year end of next year.
All right, Anthony, I wanted to point out Tesla, looking at this theme of, what happens if Harris versus Trump wins? And of course, Musk, has been in the spotlight for years, but especially now that he's being discussed as a part of the Trump administration. So I thought, let's look at Tesla, just see if Tesla gives us any kind of clues. And the chart to me looks kind of neutral. It's been pretty choppy. The Keltners look sideways, and I don't know if price is going to fill the gap just yet. But to me, this almost looks kind of like a flag. Just looking at this, I don't like that it's below the whole moving average, but so far it's been holding the middle Keltner channel. So let's take a quick look at gamma, see if that gives us any clues. We're just below the zero gamma line. We had some significant volume really between 240 and even up at 300 today. Then we do have more of a concentration at the positive strikes, with the highest concentration being at 300. Now, I went back down here and I also saw that the 300 gamma is mostly at January 17, which is kind of interesting. But we can even come back here to November 15. 260 is just this Friday, is the largest gamma cluster. Very interesting, in my view. Not that we can extrapolate all meaning of life from this Tesla 3D gamma chart, but if this ends up being correct, this would imply that Tesla, at least perceived to be a favored company in a Trump victory, you may have 260 on Friday as a potential target from the current price of 243.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. The price action on Tesla is going to be super interesting to watch this week. Next, I want to talk about IWM. IWM has basically gone nowhere since August. If you look back here, end of August, it was trading right around this 220 level, and here we are, still trading around 220. A ton of market participants have been calling for small caps to rally as sort of an end of cycle move. The analysis seems solid for that type of thinking, but the price action has really not complied with that idea. I mean, we've had a few rallies, as you can see here in September, again here at the beginning of October, but ultimately IWM has really gone nowhere for the last 3 or 4 months. Looking at the gamma picture, though, we have a large gamma exposure concentration at 220 that's rolling off today. Actually, that is mostly negative gamma exposure rolling off today. That's going to leave room for the possibility of these 230 to 240 gamma exposure concentrations to exert a larger influence on the overall structure. Basically, what we need is we need to see some momentum coming up here into the 225 range, I think, in order to see these gamma effects from these larger strikes up here to really weigh in on the price. That's one of the effects of gamma exposure. It's an acceleration of momentum. And so you got to have a little bit of momentum going your way. Once it does, those gamma effects really become magnified. That's what we're looking for here on IWM. Basically, it needs to get up off the mat here at this 220 level, get up out here, and gamma effects between 230 and 240 will take hold. And so we'd like to see that happen here in the next couple of weeks. That would give a lot more confidence for a major rally in small caps, and we could potentially see further upside, into the mid to higher 200s if that does take place. Don't forget, we are running an election day special. If you go to our website, geeksoffinance.com, you can get $300 off the yearly portfolio manager tier subscription. That expires tomorrow at midnight. We've got 2 spots left, so definitely check that out when you get a chance to get access to our gamma exposure dashboard and option flow analytics. You'll also get access to our community Discord, which is free to check out. I'll put a link in the description below, but you'll also get access to all of our premium channels. We've got a ton of great traders in there sharing information and ideas every single day. You don't want to miss that. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.